What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dad's Expensive Hobby. Today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Spider-Man retro card Agent Venom, Flash Thompson. I gotta be honest, I don't know much about this figure or the character in general, really. I just thought it looked really cool when I saw it in Target a couple of days ago, so I went ahead and picked it up. I know that this figure came out some odd years ago and was a little bit different looking, but I thought this one looked really cool, and I like the packaging. It's nice and kind of throwback to when I was a kid. There's the back of the figure. It looks really cool, and it tells us a little bit about the figure right here if you want to push pause and read that. All right, and here's the other figures that are in this wave. I ended up buying Chameleon as well, depending on how I like this figure or not. I may or may not open that package and do a video on him too. But he looks really cool so far. I like the head sculpt, and there's the product image and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool, but let's take a second here and let's get him out of the package and take a closer look at him. All right, out of the package, I got to tell you, he looks pretty darn good just glancing at him like this. But let's see how tall he is real quick. Up to the top of his hair, he is just south of 6.5 inches, which would make the figure just north of 16 centimeters, just south of 16.5 centimeters. Let's take a couple seconds and compare him to some other figures that we have. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends Boxers Deadpool, and here he is next to the Marvel Legends Winter Thor, and here he is next to the Marvel Legends Red Hulk. And here he is next to the NECA Freddy vs. Jason Voorhees figure. And here he is next to a can of root beer. All right, and I think all that looks really awesome. I love those other figures, and I'm starting to like this one already. Let's take a look at his accessories, because for $25, and some change, he comes with a decent spread of stuff. He comes with 2 head sculpts. He comes with this head sculpt on him in the package, and it looks really good. And he comes with this Agent Venom head, and it looks really good too. A nice matte finish on the black parts, and the paint around the eyes looks really clean. And he comes with 6 hands, and he comes with these 2 weapon holding hands on him in the package, and they have the vertical hinges. And he's also got a pair of fist hands, and he's got a pair of like claw hands, and they all look really good, and the paint looks really solid on them. And he comes with a couple of guns. I think they're reused, but they both look pretty good. And he comes with these 2 guns right here, and I'm positive we have seen these guns with other action figures. Pretty sure these are the same 2 weapons that came with Chameleon in this very same wave. And that's all of it. For $25 and it being a Marvel Legends, that's not a bad spread of accessories. I mean, could we maybe got a little bit more? Maybe, but as far as accessories are concerned, I think that's pretty good. He got a nice little spread. Let's take a look at his paint and detail really quick. Starting off with this head sculpt, we're going to leave what I'm going to call the pretty boy head sculpt on him. And I always remember Flash Thompson as always having short hair, but there must be like an iteration or something out there where he kind of looks like this. The head sculpt looks fantastic. Hair looks really good. I can't tell if it's just natural shading in his hair or if they have put some kind of wash on it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say there's some kind of subtle wash or something there, because the hair sculpt looks really good. The face looks really good. The eyes and the sculpt and the paint on the lips and the kind of shading around the cheeks looks really good. This is one handsome fella.
Damn it, you are handsome.
As far as the rest of the figure, there's really not a lot of paint, only where you see the white. And I gotta be honest, it's not great everywhere. I mean, it looks pretty good if you're glancing, but mine right here has some like smudging or jacked up kind of part right there in the middle of that little spider logo right there. And on the back shoulder of what would be his right shoulder, it's got a scratch right there.
Holy Jesus.
Everywhere else looks pretty good. And the figure itself has kind of a satiny look to it. And that doesn't bother me too much if there was kind of a wash or something, or like some, I don't know, panel lining or something, because there's a lot of detail in the sculpt, and the sculpt and shape of the uniform looks really cool. It's just very bare bones, so I don't know if most of this thing's like budget went into the accessories, but they could have spared a little bit more and gave us just a little bit more as far as on the body, because I mean, as you can see, this is just black plastic other than the head sculpt and just the white parts, and then they're not done fantastically. Everything is just bare plastic, and boy oh boy, in person does it sure look like it. I mean, like, look at these, like the wrist gauntlets right here, the spikes on them. If there was some paint of some sort, man, they would just look so much better. And like these shoulders, and like if you can see here in the arms, that texture right there of the suit, the symbiote suit or whatever, like if there was something on that, it would just make it pop. Oh, excuse me. And there's paint right here on this silver belt buckle. And that's literally it. And everything's satiny except for the neck, for some reason, which is all black plastic. That is not paint in there. Has a matte finish on it. And the weapons belt is like a matte plastic. And this gun holster on his hip is matte plastic. Everything else is like, just has a satin finish to it. But that's really all the complaints I've really got about his paint and detail. His articulation really isn't too bad. His head is on a double ball peg.
Oh, hallelujah.
But it's seated really deep down in there, so that limits its range. So you almost get the movement of like a single ball peg for the most part, because the neck doesn't move. But the head can look down pretty decent. Looks up fairly decent, especially for how that ball peg is executed. You know, it can get some tilt and, you know, other little nuance in it. So I'm not going to complain there. I wish the neck moved down inside this this kind of neck ring that he's got set up here. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain because the head moves really good, and that should really give you all the kind of nuanced looks that you want. His shoulders move really good, because that was something I was worried about these shoulder pads. But I'll show you in a second how those shoulder pads are working. See, so out to 90 with no issue there whatsoever. And that's because these shoulders aren't connected to his shoulder. They're like, I don't know if you can even see up in there, but they're like fed up underneath the shoulder joint and connected that way, so they move and float around pretty well. No butterfly, so the hands don't come together, but he's not, you know, Goku from Dragon Ball Z or anything, so his hands don't necessarily have to come together. So I can live with that range of motion. He's got a bicep swivel that works just fine. Pinless double jointed elbow works really, really well and doesn't look too horrendous. And I like the little sculpt of the spiky stuff on the elbow right there. Wrists are on a vertical hinge, because these are the trigger hands right here, and they're on a vertical hinge, so I like that really well. Impeded a little bit by the end, like the cuff end of this spiky gauntlet right here, but that's not that big of a deal. Let's move to his abdomen. The abdomen moves pretty good. I mean, he gets a little bit of crunch right there, and it doesn't give him too bad of a hump right there, because it's just and the break is hidden very nicely with the paint, so I don't have a big problem with that whatsoever. And it's hidden pretty well in the front, but not a big bunch of range, just a little bit, and it goes back not too bad. The sculpt is continued up underneath there, so I like that pretty well. You get some pretty good tilt. It'll tilt over really well, and you could twist him all the way around. And I think that there is no swivel at the waist, or
We have a problem.
mine is the tightest figure ever created, but I don't think that there's a break down there, because I've been trying to move this belt around and it floats, but it is also on a little bit of a track in here. I don't even know if I'll be able to show the camera. If you could see that there is a recessed part around the waist that the belt sits into to hold it there so it doesn't, you know, slide up and down. And it looks pretty good, and it doesn't twist all the way around. And that's because the back part of this buckle, if I can get up there and if you can see that, there's a little keyed kind of part that pokes, that kind of plugs in to hold it right there to keep it from just twisting all the way around. But it looks pretty cool, I guess, or it works pretty well. I don't know why I said it looks cool, but it works pretty well. But all your abdominal movement's going to come from this right here. There's nothing in here to move around. Legs move really good as long as you keep the gun out of the holster. If the gun's in the holster, it will impede it. Nice front kick. The thigh swivel is hidden by the straps of that are on both thighs right there, so that's pretty good. Double jointed knee, pretty stiff, and his proportions are a little off. If you see right there, that lower leg is really long, so his balance is actually off just a little bit. I don't like how long that lower leg is, and it's made the figure a lot taller. He feels taller than he should be. But the knee looks really cool. I like the design of the knee. Ankles, not so great. All they do is come down to there and go up to there. They are impeded by this thing around his ankle. I don't even know what you would call this, but it's there, and it impedes almost everything. It's a little bit of ankle rocker, and I do mean a little bit, and that is all you get out of his ankle. There's nothing there, and of course no toe break. But you know, from the knees up, his articulation's pretty darn good. I don't really have any complaints there. Probably could have done with a with a waist twist as well, or like being on a ball peg or something to kind of give you a little bit more movement. I mean, he's not a Spider-Man figure, but he is Venom, so it'd been nice to have a little bit more articulation. But let's move into my final thoughts, I guess, on him. I mean, final thoughts wise on him. The verdict is, I like the figure. It's not my favorite Marvel Legends I've ever held, but he is definitely not the worst one. At a glance, this is a really cool figure, but when you kind of get him in hand and start messing with him, he's very bare bones. Like, his sculpt makes him seem more interesting than the figure really is. It's just basically just a bare plastic figure with some cool little sculpting on it and very little paint. Like I said, knees up, the articulation's really good. This head sculpt is really good. Let me show you. Well, I think I've already shown you all the other head sculpt on it, but it looks good on his body too. I'm going to give this figure, I'll give it a B- because he came with a good spread of accessories. So for the money, I definitely recommend him. If you're needing an Agent Venom for whatever reason, buy this one. I know that there's an older one out there, but it's a lot more expensive now, and it's got those old Toy Biz kind of hips, and I hate those Toy Biz hips. These hips are, I guarantee, are much better, and that's a bigger, kind of bulkier figure. This one's a lot slimmer, but I would say this is probably the superior figure of the two. And that's really all I've got for Agent Venom Flash Thompson here. I recommend you buy him, and if you're somebody that buys every Marvel Legend that comes out, you're going to buy him regardless of what I say. But this is a pretty good figure. If you haven't yet, subscribe, push pause, scroll down, subscribe, click like, share, all that good stuff. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. Check out our other videos. I think they're pretty good too. And with all that said, this has been Dad with Dad's Expensive Hobby, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.